This video presentation is made possible by the SLO County Department of Education and the SLO Co-Arts Collaborative. For over a century, the Central Coast of California has been a haven for people from all walks of life. Pioneers, entrepreneurs, farmers, innovators, artists, dreamers. People escaping the city life to find beautiful landscapes, rich culture, seeking prosperity, and most importantly, joy. For a lot of us, we find joy in art, whether we're makers or just lucky enough to enjoy the art of others.
Hi, I'm Peter Henry Schroeder. I'm a local documentary filmmaker here in San Luis Obispo County. I invite you to come with me now as we actually get to go talk to some of these artists firsthand and learn about what makes them tick. What are some of the challenges they face, and how do they do this on a day-to-day basis? Where does their inspiration come from, and how do they actually find the joy in their art? What really gives them that creative juice?
My name is Tim Caldwell. I'm a local artist here in San Luis Obispo. I retired 14 years ago from the title and escrow business. I was a marketing representative. After retiring, I got bored to death, so I figured I needed something to do. I've always loved art and had interest in it. When I was in the Air Force, I would write letters home, and then I would take the envelopes and I taught myself calligraphy. I would do calligraphy on the envelopes to mail home to my parents or friends. I started a company called Calligraphy by Caldwell, and I used to do birth and wedding certificates. The title companies loved it. I mean, they would do them for special customers that did a lot of work with us. I've got one hanging in the Madonna Inn. It's a big, like, proclamation. And then I did the names of every homeowner from the King of Spain all the way down to the present owner, and the dates of when the property became theirs. I enjoyed that so much, but now I'm into my art, and that's what I love. I get a lot of influence from other artists. I really do. A lot of the stuff I do is something I've seen, in a magazine. I've been in a restaurant and down on Laguna Beach, and went down there for the art show that they have every year. And there was a picture there that I just loved. So I just took a picture of it and came home and did my own twist on it. They've all been influenced by other people, even Picasso. He's been influenced by somebody else's work that he sees, and you can actually see it in some of his paintings. My favorite quote by him was, "Bad artists copy, good artists steal." And he lived by that too. Obviously he had tons of original stuff once he got there. But before, he was just like everybody else. Same thing with musicians. It's that one step beyond that. Once you reach that point, then you're a true artist, and everybody wants to be you. I always liked art, but I've never had any formal training. I did take one class in college, two of them. I took an art history class that I loved, because I learned so much about painting itself and the various artists. And I took a life drawing class, but that was just all chalk pastel work. So I never really got into painting till I started 13 years ago. I used to call on a realtor who had a studio in the back of his office, a guy named Richard Summers, and he was always painting. he actually painted this bison. He was working on this when I was making a sales call. Anyway, I called Richard up. I go, Richard, you know, I'm bored to death. I've got to do something. I'm thinking of getting into painting. Are you still painting? He said, yeah, sure. If you want to come up once a week, you know, I'll show you what I know anyway. So I went up there for 10 years, every Tuesday for 10 years, and we'd paint together for 3 hours. I learned a lot of things from him. In other words, you got your canvas. I had no idea you had to prime it first. Satin polyurethane that I use when I'm finished with it to spray it so you can wipe it down when it gets dust on it. And so he told me little things like that, you know, that really helped me, because otherwise I'd have no idea. You just need to experiment. You need to try. Some people always say to me, well, I can't draw a straight line. I go, well, neither can I without a ruler. Nobody should say, oh, I can't do that. You need to try it and do it. You know, you might like it. I think it's very important, the technical side of it, and even the education of it. Just going to it, taking a class, and you really do learn a lot in there, you know, depending on the instructor, but they're all professionals. They know what they're talking about and what they're doing. I've done some oil paintings, but the oil paint takes too long to dry for me. I got into watercolors, and the watercolors are just too demanding. I would always muddy it up, and you want a real clear picture. I just never know when to stop. Then I discovered acrylics, and they are so forgiving, and that's what I love working with, is the acrylics. I actually paint in the garage with my door open, listening to music, and amazing how many people are driving by, they stop, they back up, they pull in the driveway, because they've seen a little bit of the art that I have. I'm gonna show you a few pieces of my art. I love this one here. I kind of call it a patchwork because of the triangle around her face. So it took a lot of probably took more time than it would have been for a lady to sit down and actually do the patchwork. But I really enjoy this piece. I love the eyes on it and all the detail work. I have a few little tricks that I love doing. I'll show you on some of the other paintings. There, I go from that painting over to something really loose, a little more abstract. And I have fun with this type of stuff. It doesn't feel as detailed as the last painting I just showed you. Probably just the composition of the faces itself. As far as my style, I really consider myself not having one, because I love all styles. I do a lot of impressionistic portraits, but lately I've been into abstract. I think it's because it's so more free-flowing and not as tight as the other work. Oh, here you go. A little more impressionistic style, just a portrait. It's, you know, kind of like a photograph. I love this piece. As I was saying, this is more impressionistic. It's not so abstract, but I just love the look on her face. Every one is different. Every painting is different. It all depends on what I'm working on. You know, if I'm doing something impressionistic style, I'm trying to make it just right. I want that twinkle in the eye just right. Toward on the abstract end of it, sometimes I feel like I don't even think about what I'm doing. Just do it and see what happens. I always have something in mind of what I want. Just sometimes, you know, getting the brain to get the hand to do what you're thinking sometimes doesn't work, but most of the time it does. Like I said earlier, fortunately, a lot of my mistakes have been my better stuff, in my opinion. I don't know about this. It's just a flower, but it's very simple, but it's kind of cool. See, now, here's what's funny about this. I was working on this painting, and I thought I was through with it, and I sat it over there in the corner of the studio, and the sun was shining through, and the table legs cast a shadow across it, and I'm looking going, that's what I need. So I just added the green stripes through it, but the shadow from that table leg gave me the idea. I mean, it looked nice before just with this color, but that made it pop. Even my signature, to me, that again, that's another piece of the canvas. It's a piece of art, you know, just the way I do it. And sometimes I'll do it, and most of them all look the same, but sometimes I'll do it and I don't like that. And it's just my signature, it's not even the painting. Maybe it's for the fact that I am a perfectionist, for I wished I was a little looser with things. When I used to do the calligraphy and a lot of the sketching, I was like right down there like a finished carpenter, just doing the little fine work. I'd see a lot of abstract stuff and I go, God, I wish I was more just splashy instead of right down there with my face in the paper working on it. Well, I really like this one. It's just different. It takes some people a little time to look and go, oh, her hair, it's actually the fish tails, which is what makes it interesting. These areas in here, I just thin out my acrylic paint and I take a toothbrush, dip it in, and then I just flick it. Now again, you don't know how it's going to come out when you do that flicking. You just hope it comes out okay. If not, just paint over it and start again. Something a little more abstract. I just have fun doing this style so much better. Again, you can see where I use that toothbrush. I think what's attractive about abstract is that it is so free-flowing. You can just about do anything you want with it. To where even a portrait, you know, doing an impressionistic portrait, you can do them abstract. I've done them abstract too. It's just I enjoy the more the free flow with it, opposed to trying to be so tight, making it actually look like a photograph. A little different. Well, on this, I actually, the background, I took a roller that was a real thick, furry roller, and I rolled the background out first to give me this effect. Then I just superimposed her on the top of it. But I love the fact it's just black and white and a little bit of red. There's another abstract piece. And I love this for the fact it's only about 4 colors and all the rest is just the black cutting it in. And you don't know where you're going to go with the lines on it, you know, till you get started. Again, back to more of the portraits that I was doing. Little bubblegum chewer. Here we go. Let's talk abstract. This is me on a good day. Well, actually, self-portraits up there when I was 23 without the skateboard. I'll show you what my wife has to put up with all the time. I really like this one. It's so funny, again, I painted this just as basically a circle, and I had one person go, "Oh, you did a wreath." I go, "No, I didn't mean for it to be." And another person saw it and they said, "Oh, you did a heart." Just to show you, everybody sees something different in art, which is the nice part of it. This is another one of my favorites. This is a blue moon, so you don't see them that often. Over here is a piece I really like. As far as the black lines and painting the border on it, which I rarely do, but I should do more because it really makes it pop. Here's something I was telling you about experimenting with. These streaks all through here. I was at Home Depot and they have that mesh that you use on drywall when it's a real big hole and you want to patch it. It's actually a tape that has all of the lines through it. So I just thought, well, what happens if I were to try painting over that tape and peel it off and see what it did? And it did its own thing. I like it. But I was just experimenting with it, and it came out okay. I really like this style. It's very time-consuming with all the black lines. Not being formally trained, I never knew how to really blend in 2 colors. So I cheated and I went down and bought a can of spray paint, green. I painted the whole background dark gray first, and then I knew what area I wanted the color in. I just misted the spray paint in there and it gave me that real nice green in there. I've done that quite a few times actually. I painted the whole background gray first, and then same thing, I used white spray paint for that area and just mist it. Because if it doesn't come out like I like it, just paint it gray again and start over. I've really gotten better from when I first started. I can look at those paintings and go, I laugh, you know, up to what I'm doing now. I've done some I hated when I was finished. Matter of fact, this canvas I'm working on here now, And that painting that I showed you in the living room up against the couch, that gray one, both of those were paintings that I did over a year and a half ago. I painted right over them. I did. I just took the primer and whited it out and painted over because I wasn't really happy with it. And you should get my lady here. This was a lot of fun. Again, another canvas that I painted over because I didn't like what I originally had done. And the canvases can get expensive, so I just painted over it and started over. And the same thing, when I was all finished, had that pink background, I thought, oh, I need something else. So here I just ran tape. No, it wasn't tape on this. I just ran the brush and did the strokes, and it really added to the outside of it. I had a debate whether doing red lips or yellow lips. I'm glad I went with the yellow. You know, just all this little stuff in here, it's like that patchwork one. It takes a lot of time and patience. But that's what makes a big difference on them. I am a perfectionist. I can't help it. I love it. It's not just with painting, it's with anything I do. I would hold on to it if I was a young artist, because there's something to be said for it. You know, it's the eye, just looking and going, this needs this. Even abstract artists, for as loose as a lot of their work is, I'm sure there's still a grain of perfectionist within that. And as far as being a perfectionist, you don't have to be one to be a good artist. You know, I think what's more important is just the creativity, the idea, the light bulb that just goes off. You know, I think that's really more influencing than anything else. Yeah, this is probably almost the biggest one I've ever done. I believe it's a little over 4 feet by 5 feet. And just to mix things up and try something different, all the stems are brush stroked, but everything else on it is sponge work, which makes it a lot of fun because a lot of times it'll run and do its own thing on you too. A client bought this painting here. She's from San Francisco, and she's actually bought 6 paintings from me. She loves abstract. She's gonna pick this up the next time she's in town. It has a nice spacey feel to it. When I thought I was done with it and I looked at it for a while, I said, it was just white up there. It needs something, so I took that light green and just made those 2 strokes and then brought it down here. It was an afterthought, but to me it really added. I actually paint about 2 paintings a week, at least 2 a week. Unless you get into something like this, it probably took a month to do. And I only work on 1 painting at a time. I know a lot of artists will have 2 or 3 things they're working on. They'll go to one and go to another and work on it. It's a passion that almost drives me nuts. You know, it's the last thing I think of when I go to sleep at night, and it's the first thing I think of in the morning, other than my wife. So maybe it's the second thing, but it's a thing I love. and I love her too. Any person or kid that is interested in art, you know, I highly encourage them to take some classes, take a life drawing class, take a watercolor class, a graphic design class. I mean, you just don't know till you get there what really interests you, what you really like, and then it becomes your passion. You can move it on from there. So you just, you don't know unless you try. That's all.